My name is Sam. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager here at Fairygodboss. And Fairygodboss is the largest career community for women. Our mission is to improve the workplace by increasing transparency. We offer a ton of great free resources like anonymous company reviews, job listings, articles, virtual recruiting events, and so much more to help you succeed throughout your career. We will be taking questions at the end of today's webinar. You'll find the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to leave questions as yourself or anonymously, and we will get to as many as possible at the end. We're also recording today's webinar, and we will be sending it out in a follow-up email later today, along with some more information about Dick's Sporting Goods, so be on the lookout for all of that. Here with me today are three leaders from Dick's Sporting Goods. First is Ashley Marchitto, who joined the team in 2008 as a sales lead after wrapping up her first bachelor's degree in economics and embarking on a second in physical education teaching and coaching. On the heels of receiving her second degree, she was promoted to sales support manager, and in her 12 years at Dick's, she's received multiple promotions. Today, she's the company's district manager for the greater Hartford, Connecticut area. Next, we have Melissa Christian. After receiving her MBA from the Wharton School at UPenn in 2014, Melissa joined Dick's Sporting Goods as a manager of its women's initiative. From there, she served as a special assistant to the CEO in a corporate strategy role, and in 2017, she became a director of brand management. Today, she's the company's VP of Global Brand and Category Marketing Softlines. Finally, I'm joined by Molly Dymond, who met a Dick's campus recruiter while still a student at the University of Pittsburgh. At the recruiter's advice, she decided to get experience within Dick's first as a part-time cashier, and in 2014, she received an internship within its corporate merchandising team. After graduating with her Bachelor's of Business Administration in Global Management and Marketing, she joined the team at Dick's full-time as a merchandising trainee. Today, 5 years and 4 roles later, she's a university relations recruiter at Dick's herself. So first off, thank you all for being here today. I'm really excited for our conversation. And so I just want to jump right into things. I'd love to hear from each of you. Tell me a little bit more about your career path and what initially attracted you to Dick's Sporting Goods. Ashley, I will start with you.
Yeah, well, first I wanted to say thank you, certainly for the invitation, then just thank you to everybody that took some time out to join us today. Really excited to share my experience at Dick's Sporting Goods, as well as some of the culture at Dick's that's kept me here for 12 years and hopefully at least 12 more. And I'm going to bring you with me everywhere, Sam, because the way you presented that so eloquently is not necessarily the way it actually happened in life. As you mentioned, I graduated in 2008 with a degree in economics. The irony of that was the economy was pretty terrible in 2008. So the only option it felt like at the time was to just go back to school because I had no idea what I was actually going to do with my life. So at the time I had graduated, I was a collegiate athlete and I spent plenty of time and money at Dick's Sporting Goods. And I thought to myself, what a great opportunity to get paid for the time that I spend in this store. So initially I had started working at Dick's Sporting Goods as a part-time job to fund that second degree while I figured out what to do and gave the economy a little time to rebound and some jobs to open up. And what I found was just that I loved working at Dick's Sporting Goods. I loved engaging with people. I loved the product that we sold. I loved the merchandise sets, and I loved the freedom to sort of express myself through that. And what was supposed to be a part-time stint, 12 years later, has been multiple hourly roles, multiple salaried roles, and I've been able to kind of move across the country and take advantage of that. So certainly the fact that we sell sporting goods is fun. I don't know who wouldn't be into that or excited about that, but really it was happen chance that I ended up at Dick's, and I can't see myself leaving anytime soon.
Oh, that's so amazing. Melissa, I'd love to hear from you next.
Sure. Well, first I'll echo Ashley in thanking Samantha for hosting this and for everyone who joined. You know, Samantha, you mentioned in my intro that I came to Dick's Sporting Goods after receiving my MBA. So I had a career before business school, and that was in financial services. And no knock to anyone who may be in financial services, but I just knew that was not something that really was my passion. And so I went to business school looking for a career change, but more importantly, to relocate. I was in New York City at the time, and I wanted to get back to Pittsburgh, which was home. So unlike a lot of my classmates in business school, I was very geographically focused on my career search. And really, I kept telling everyone, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. So I just want to find a company that is compelling, seems like it has a good culture, and gives me flexibility to move and grow, because I don't know, do I want to do finance, but in a different setting? Do I want to do marketing? Do I want to do something else? And that's really what attracted me to Dick's Sporting Goods. In talking to the recruiter during my recruiting process, she shared a lot of stories of people who've moved around our company, and that was really important to me. And I have seen that firsthand working here now for about 6 years. And I also just loved working at a company that's tangible to people in my life. So when I worked in finance and I covered like industrial and dry bulk shipping companies, talking to my aunt about that, like, it's just not a fun conversation. She doesn't understand. I probably only understood half of it. Everyone understands retail. Everyone understands sports. I had been a collegiate athlete as well, so I loved bringing that side of my life to work every day. And I think that's a lot of what really just made me love the company. And I'm super excited that this was sort of the path that I chose, and that I wasn't scared to take a risk and make a total change in my career.
I love that. We have a ton of people in the Fairygodboss community who are career changers themselves and trying to navigate that. So I'm definitely going to come back to you on that with our questions later on. But Molly, I would love to hear from you. Tell us a little bit more about your career path and what attracted you to Dick's initially.
Yes, echoing my fellow panelists, thank you very much, Sam, for that excellent introduction. Similar to Ashley, it didn't happen all that easily. I did bounce around a ton, but I've loved every second I've had here at Dick's Sporting Goods. So similarly also to Melissa, I knew financial background, financial services wasn't my strong suit. I did not have a career in it. However, I took some classes that weren't super fun. So I did have the opportunity to participate in a business fraternity when I was at the University of Pittsburgh. And we hosted multiple companies who all came and spoke about their roles and their opportunities. And I was just a freshman at the time. So I was just kind of soaking it all in. And I met my recruiter who is still with the company today. And he just spoke so eloquently about the opportunities that Dick's Sporting Goods had, including the mission and the vision. And it just aligned with where I saw myself down the road. It also helped that I was obsessed with sports, an athlete myself, and knew that that just is where I saw myself growing up and growing in my career. So I bothered him every single time he came to campus. And I was like, how do I have the opportunity to do what you do and work for this organization? And his advice, get retail experience. If you have the opportunity to work in our stores, please do so. So I am originally from Buffalo, New York. So I worked in store number 11, had the opportunity to hang out as a cashier for a couple summers. And I went to my internship interview and knew that I was like, I have a background in this company. I know I can kind of understand how we make money. And I was able to speak to that hopefully well in my interview that I got the internship. Worked in merchandising for that time while I graduated college, did our 1-year rotational program. And I learned all about buying, inventory planning, got the opportunity to work a lot with product and different vendors. And so thinking about my life after that program, I had some personal decisions that moved me back to Buffalo, New York. However, I had so much help to get to stay with the company. And I worked with several people in HR to give me a manager role in one of our stores. So I actually worked in a footwear manager back in that same store, got the opportunity to manage a group of teammates who were fantastic, taught me so much before I transitioned back to the corporate office in Pittsburgh. This is my home here now, and I'm absolutely in love with the organization. I worked back in merchandising for a couple of years and then knew that I wanted to do what that recruiter did for me 8 years ago, and that was to showcase this fantastic company. So I've had the opportunity for the past 2 years to work as a campus recruiter, doing what I absolutely love now, and that is getting to showcase what we do best every single day. And I'm absolutely very happy and thankful to be here.
Truly a full circle story with you there. I love that. So now each of you have had a long career at Dick's thus far. You've been through a lot of different titles and promotions, it sounds like. So Melissa, I'm going to come to you first on this question, but tell me more about the career opportunities that you've benefited from at Dick's, and how has that impacted your career? I know you spoke about, being able to transition, but would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it goes back to being recruited to the company as an MBA student. So I benefited from our structured MBA program, including an internship. So I interned at Dick's Sporting Goods. And funny enough, I always tell people that, sometimes you take internships and you think, oh, it's temporary. My internship truly laid the foundation for my entire career, even till today. Because at Dix, we give our MBA interns a singular project and you sort of become the subject matter expert on that in the summer. And my project back in 2013 was thinking about how can Dix better serve the female customer? And that has been the thread through almost every role I've had at the company. To this day, I spend a ton of time thinking about how to reach female consumers, how to market to women, how to ensure our services and just our brand is more welcoming. And it's so funny to think that it started from an assignment I got as an intern and has continued. And I also think the networking that allowed me throughout my internship, some of the key contacts I had are now senior leaders at the company, but we've had a really strong relationship that really started back to that summer, and it really has paved the way for the opportunities I've had. So, I joined the company as the manager of the Women's Initiative, and I joke that sometimes I'm the first and the last manager of Women's Initiative ever at Dick's Sporting Goods, because it was essentially a continuation of my project from my summer internship. But at the time, we were also working on a new private brand, which is now called Kalia by Carrie Underwood, but we were working on brand positioning. And because I was the women's expert, I got to help launch this brand. So that was like a huge, amazing opportunity to get to do with someone, again, with no true marketing background, just sort of the reputation I had built for myself as an intern. But then it was also a really high profile project that laid the way. Again, I was only in that role for about 9 months. We launched the brand. And then I was asked to work with our CEO for 2 years. And that really was a pivotal moment in my career, just the exposure to him. He's brilliant. He's awesome. I'm so excited that I have the CEO as my career mentor. Not very many people get that experience. But even surrounding him just through the executive mentorship programs at Dix, I've had so many great advisors on the executive team, and they really help guide me in thinking about next career steps and career paths. So I think, again, my career has been defined by people taking risks on me, even if I don't have experience. Something that I love about the Dix talent philosophy, I guess, is that we like to hire or promote for experience and potential, not experience only. So even if you've never had marketing background, but you show that you want to learn, you'll work hard, people will consider you for roles. And that has definitely been true for me. And it's part of why I love the company so much.
That's amazing. I love what you said about people taking risks on you has helped kind of propel your career. That's awesome. And Molly, same question to you. I mean, you've been through, I think I said 4 different promotions there. So I'd love to hear about those career opportunities and how that's impacted your career.
Yes, so similarly to Melissa, I did an internship with the organization, and starting as a cashier and being able to kind of work my way through has allowed me to make a lot of connections, have a lot of different perspectives in the organization, even though I haven't been here as long as a lot of our tenured teammates. However, the programs, like she said, really just lay out success paths for you and gives you so many opportunities to make those meaningful relationships and those connections throughout the organization. And having the opportunity to now recruit for said positions after completing them myself, I have been able to really speak highly to the programs and being able to give actual firsthand experience and firsthand examples of what the program can offer you. So those projects that Melissa touched on, they are real world projects that they need implemented. They're not just projects that oh great, an intern can work on it, we're just going to toss it to the side. They are something that they want to see actioned on in our stores or at a merchandising level. And it was really cool to be able to have that opportunity. When I was an intern, I worked on the World Cup at the time, and I got to pick out merchandise and work on a store display that was displayed in 600 plus locations at the time. And it was able to go in and see my work come to total fruition. So having those programs in place for our teammates to come in and join, it just creates this success, a runway for you. And there's just no way but up. And I've had that incredible opportunity to do that here at the organization. We talk about now our professional toolkits. And I think with the roles I've had in merchandising and now HR, I'm just kind of building that toolkit in my tool belt to really just help me continue to grow here with the organization. I'm super thankful for it. And it's been a lot of fun and I can't wait to see what happens next.
Awesome. And then Ashley, I think you're our most senior person on this call right now, or you've been with Dix rather for the longest, I should say. So really would love to hear from you, about the different opportunities you've had over your 12 years and how that's kind of changed or impacted the course of your career.
Sure, thank you. The grays they're a touchy subject for me so far, so I appreciate the rephrase there. But this is really an incredible experience for me. So Molly and Melissa and I, not necessarily connected in our day-to-day, but as they're both speaking, it's unbelievable the consistency and experience, right? In terms of the opportunities that I've had and really the feelings that I have that I could sort of echo the same sentiment. So we have a great culture here that's really for us, by us, and that is meaningful and it lives and breathes every day. So when I think about Melissa and her first experience at the CSC and that women's project, I can correlate that to 5 years ago and having a walk with our senior vice president of operations and really him challenging me and following up. Hey, what products do we not have to serve our female athlete right now? How could we do better? What do you think would have an impact to our female athlete? And at that time in my career, I didn't understand that I could have such a big voice, but that for us, by us culture has continued to build over the years. And I really do think that ties into something Molly said just around, I think both of you really, but just around being able to be recognized for potential, not necessarily experience as well. So I think about being an assistant store manager 12 years ago. And I was given the opportunity to fly to Ohio and to be part of a new process for our stores in terms of how we process freight more efficiently. And from that experience, in my young 20s, I was able to then roll that out and teach store managers, teach regional managers, people who are in positions above me, how to efficiently roll out this process. So I felt really empowered. I was allowed to lead. I was allowed to challenge myself and my team. I was allowed to try things and make mistakes and course correct. And all the while, I was really supported by senior leadership. So that really kind of got me excited about more opportunities within the company. And at that time in my life, I was really interested in kind of seeing the US. So I moved around a lot. If there was an opportunity in a state, no matter what the position, I took it. Fast forward now, I kind of wanted to settle down. So I was able to, again, take an opportunity in this home state that I grew up and move back home and buy a house because of my role at Dick's Sporting Goods. So tremendous opportunities kind of across the board, regardless of experience, regardless of passion. That's changed for me over the course of time through mentorship. But there are opportunities, and I think for me, it's the flexibility. It's the flexibility to move around if you want, to stay put if you want, to try different roles, to work different hours, to have it fit in as a first career and only career, or a second or third job, which is becoming more the norm. So I think that's kind of what resonates with me when I think about opportunities at Dick's Sporting Goods.
That's awesome. And I mean, what you said about, when you were earlier in your career at Dick's, being able to teach people who are senior to you about all these things, that is truly empowering. And that's a little bit frightening in a way, but, to hear about the support that you've had throughout the company, it's clear that, since you are so supported, it makes it a lot less frightening, a lot less scary to tell somebody who's, maybe 10 years above you, this is what you have to do, in a much nicer way than that, of course. But obviously, careers aren't all sunshine, rainbows, and butterflies. There are challenges and plenty of challenges along the way, if not every single day. So what has been the biggest challenge in your career so far, and how did you overcome it? Molly, I'll start with you on this question.
Yeah, so I think about this question in kind of like two parts for me. One was kind of pre-career. I'm actually a first generation college student. So for me, just leaving home and going away to school was challenge in itself. I went to a new city where I didn't know anyone, and then joining a very large university and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and then meeting people like my first recruiter and being able to join my business fraternity really helped me guide myself through college. But as I think about the steps that I made in my career and the personal decisions I made to go back home and be a manager, the biggest challenge for me was going in, similarly to Ashley, in my 20s, like really early 20s, being a manager of people much older than me. I went into a very established store where there was very established rules. The manager at the time was very, very set in her ways, and it was a very regimented program. And I wasn't used to a lot of it, and it threw me for a loop. And I had to try to, quote unquote, lay down the hammer with people that were a lot older than me, and they were part-time teammates. And so for me, it was a struggle and a challenge to really understand what management meant, because I had no previous experience. Someone just decided to take that chance on me, like Melissa had said, and put me in this manager role. And I stepped outside my comfort zone to realize what kind of manager I wanted to be at the time. There's a lot of different management styles. And for me, I really wanted to be there in the front lines with my team. I didn't really work from an office of any kind. I didn't want to work in a back room or anything. I wanted to be out on the floor learning as much as I physically could, because working at the CSC, then transitioning to the store, our store teammates are phenomenal. Like, there's no joke of being on our front lines. So knowing what they have to go through day in and day out, that was my biggest role. And that was my biggest goal, is to understand that as a manager and be able to guide them and help them in any way that they could. So challenge for me was really just learning management. And now it's been a really exciting opportunity to now kind of bring those practices and those challenges that really ended up being opportunities for me into my time with interns now, because I work heavily with college students again and interns. And I think it's helped me just grow and being able to work on those relationships and grow those opportunities and hopefully help other first generation college students make their way through.
I love that you said that, because that's one of the biggest challenges we also see in our community is women, they come to the platform because they're in their first management role and they either have no idea how they got there, or they know how they got there and they have no idea what they're doing. And so they're kind of looking, how do I figure out how I'm going to, manage other people? How am I going to tell other people like what to do and how I'm going to do it effectively? So I love that you spoke about that experience. Melissa, I'll come to you. Tell me a little bit about your biggest challenge and how you overcame it.
Sure. I thought a lot about this question, and really the biggest challenge in my career to date was when I came back to work after maternity leave. That was a really challenging time for me. I expected it to be hard to leave this cute little baby at home and, just a separation of mother and child. And I was surprised that I was okay with that. I liked that he was getting exposure to other people. And what I really struggled with was the reintegration back to the workplace. In my mind, I would come back to work and it would sort of be like starting a new job again. I'd listen for a few weeks. I'd get caught up on what was going on. And what I hadn't sort of prepared myself for was my team was counting down for my return. And so the first day that I was back, my direct reports were looking to me for challenges that had persisted over the few months that I had gone. And they're like, what do you want us to do about this? And it's just like, time out. I kept telling them we were still on summer Fridays when I left. So just remember how much time has passed, and just not really having that onboarding time to reorient. And really, because my team needed me, having to hit the ground running without all of the information and context that I was used to having and making decisions for the team. So that was challenging, one thing, but easy to overcome. Just like, okay, sit down. I have about 100 questions before I'm going to give you any guidance, or we're going to talk about it together. But also just, changes in the organization that had happened. So much about business is people and people relationships. And I don't think I fully appreciated that until I had a gap in history, and that I knew all of the key players, but I didn't necessarily know key players' perspectives on some of the big projects that we had. And I had never fully understood how important that was in navigating, moving projects forward. So that was a huge adjustment, because I felt like someone had, I kind of had lost a limb. It's part of what I was good at in my job, but because I had a few months of gap, I didn't have that to rely on. So there was a lot of adjustment. And I think, a few things that were really helpful is I was really honest with everyone. Some people were like, you don't seem like yourself right now. And I'm like, I am struggling. I don't know how to help you with this. You're asking me to build this presentation for you. I don't know what it's about. I don't know the history. So just, not being scared to say that. And I had a super supportive manager, which I was grateful for. So making sure you have that support network, even people on my team. There were times where I would have to say to my direct reports, I'm sorry, but I really need you to figure this out on your own. Can you at least come back with a recommendation and we'll talk through it, versus, being maybe a little more hands-on supportive that I may have been in the past. So it was a pretty big transition, again, and one that I hadn't expected. I'd expected the other side of my life to be the harder transition and not the work part.
Yeah, I mean, that is a really tough thing to come back from, but having a team that is so supportive and that you can say, hey, I am struggling, that is a really great thing to have. And so Ashley, I'll come to you last here. What has been the biggest challenge in your career and how did you overcome it?
Absolutely. So similar actually to Molly, and it was kind of twofold. So I was promoted at a very young age, and I was somewhat ignorant that being female and being young was different, or maybe somebody had a bias, whether conscious or unconscious, to that. So I sort of experienced some roadblocks or struggles as I initially assimilated into my role. I was also promoted within the same store, same geographic area pretty quickly in my first few roles from a salary perspective. And it wasn't until I sort of got out and branched a little bit that I understood how different that could be and how much of a challenge that can also be. One day you're peers with somebody or you're in the same sort of area, and the next you're responsible or they report to you. And so what I kind of learned over the course of time, and it was really helpful to talk to mentors within the company as well for me, was that by recognizing that there could be unconscious biases, including some of my own as well, that if I focused on the people and what brought them to work and really what motivated them to come to work each day. Certainly it wasn't me. And I've never been naive enough to think that. I think my boss is great. He's certainly not why I get up every day. But I think that sort of opened avenues for me in understanding what motivates people, because ultimately I could sort of remove that barrier or bias from them if I was helping support them in terms of achieving what brought them to work each day, whether it was dreams for their family, owning a home, sending their kids to college. By understanding what motivated them, I think it opened up dialogue in a different fashion than I had ever really experienced peer to peer. I certainly knew a lot about them as people, but I didn't necessarily understand what motivated them and what I could do in terms of our conversations to really drive productivity and make the work environment fun for people to come to, because ultimately they were coming to work to go home and celebrate. So I think that was a big piece of it. But I think the ignorance part for me at the beginning was really the challenge. I was very stubborn. It was like, all right, what's not clicking? Why isn't this just happening for me? And so being a little bit patient with myself and then also with the team, I think helped immensely as well, sort of overcome that challenge. As I learned that it does exist, and it exists for all different people for all different reasons. But that's been certainly the most challenging part, and then the most helpful, but it's sustained throughout my career as sort of a piece that's helped me in multiple facets.
I love that. I feel like I could just take everything you said and put in an article of like how to be a good manager. This is what they're coming to work for, and this is what you have to do. That was an awesome answer. I love that. So now tell me each, what does work-life balance mean to you? Because some people say the term balance. I don't really think it's a balance. It's more of a, what's going to take priority today kind of thing in my mind. However, it means something different for everybody. So tell me what it means to you and how you're able to achieve that while working at Dick's. Melissa, I know you said you're spending more time with your son, but would love to hear more from you about that.
Yeah, it's funny. Again, prior to my career at Dick's, I worked in financial services, and that is an industry that is notorious for not having work-life balance. We worked 80 to 120 hours a week, which sounds like it's not even possible, but it is. So it was a massive change for me to come to Dick's, which is a little bit closer to like a 40-hour work week. But it's funny, what I find to be the element that makes it so much more, achievable to feel balanced is just that I'm not scared to be honest if there's something that's going on. I know if I say, hey, I need to do this to help, my mom go to a doctor's appointment, people are not going to question my professional commitment or my professional ability. So I think that that's something that I really value about Dick's Sporting Goods. I say, we are a massive, but still a family-owned business in a lot of respects. And the fact that we were a family business at our roots, continues and persists today, even though we've grown. And that extends to, I do feel like my colleagues are my family, as cheesy as that may sound, but also that they care about my family as well. So I just so appreciate that we work in a culture where, again, you have to build trust. You need your team to trust that you're going to get your work done and that you're not going to abuse any of the privileges that we have. but if something comes up, it's totally okay. And I definitely, as a mom of a young child, there's a lot of days where I didn't know, but now I have to leave at 2 because he's sick at school and I need to get him, or something has happened. And I love that I never have to fear that I will be retaliated against for that. And again, my ability will not be in question because of it. So I really appreciate that part of the culture at Dix.
That's so important, especially right now when we're juggling not one, not two, but like 50 billion things at once. And it might be a child, or maybe it's a sick pet, or an elderly grandparent, or a parent. There's 1,001 things that could go wrong at any moment. And so knowing that you're going to be supported and, like you said, not retaliated against, it's not going to be held against you, that really creates a safe environment for you to work and thrive in.
And something else that I would add is, I think that Ashley, Molly, and I are a testament to that. There are a lot of people who've been at the company for a long time, and people who have worked together for a long time. So I also feel like so many of us have gone through life's ups and downs together. And again, it creates this environment of understanding because you know their history, or you know who to connect to if something's happening in your life. So it's just a really supportive culture that, again, I've never fully experienced at another employer before.
And Ashley, I know you spoke about before flexibility and how important that is to you. And you mentioned, you used to be traveling around a lot more, and now you've been able to settle down. So tell me a little bit more about, what work-life balance is for you and how you've been able to achieve that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Melissa kind of just touched on it. It's the flexibility to kind of understand that work-life balance, I think, is something that everybody works hard for. I would say myself, I've never been great at it. I've definitely never been great on the balance side of life. Work has really taken precedence. It's sort of been my identity, good and bad. And I've really connected with that and kind of taken some pride in that identity that I'm a hard worker and I'm successful at work. And as I got older, I think some feedback, right, from my family and from people in my life to kind of enjoy what I was doing sounded great, but it still wasn't something I could action on. And what really hit me is I had the pleasure of going to a symposium where I was really working on synergy with my business partner. So I'm in a room, it's a very small subset of people. We have the president of the company there, the senior vice president of operations. And we went through an activity where we just started with a blank calendar for 90 days. And we were supposed to plan out our next 90 days. So we go through the activity and we kind of review each other's calendars. And our senior vice president of operations point blank said, "What's missing from your calendar?" And I'm looking and the workload planner and this and that. He said, "You started wrong. You should have started with your life. You should have started with what you had going on personally. If you had built your calendar around that, you're in better shape, because now you're going to try to squeeze things in. You're going to try to squeeze in your life around work, and that's not how it works. You're not going to be as successful. You're not going to enjoy your time as much." So he gave us another calendar and we started from scratch. And what was cool is with my business partner, we were able to share a little bit personally. I've got this going on. I know when his anniversary is. I know when his kids' birthdays are now, not because he tells me, but because it's on his calendar and we share it, right? So I know when to respect his time and when something is really, truly urgent, or when it could probably wait because I know he's got that going on. So I think our senior leaders really empowered me to say, you know what, we actually expect it of you. We expect you to take care of yourself. We expect you to do a better job balancing. Work is always going to be here. There's always going to be something to do. We're going to help you get better at planning so you can be more efficient in your day. But understand that life happens. And when it does happen, go do life, go take care of life, because the culture here is supportive. There's always people that'll have your back and can kind of pick you up. So I've never thought I can't do this on this day in my personal life. It's just been, if it happens, it doesn't matter if it's a Monday or a Saturday, I'm going to go take advantage of that. And I'm going to plan my work kind of around that. So I'm successful in both fashions.
I love that story. I don't think there's many of us who can say that, their manager, somebody in charge of them has said, "Let's plan it around your schedule." That's awesome. And then Molly, finally to you, what does work-life balance mean to you, and how are you able to achieve that?
Yeah, so I think both of these ladies said some fantastic things about putting the personal life first and having that balance and making it a priority. So for me, they talk about that working to live and living to work. And I do work to live and have a happy personal life. And Dick's Sporting Goods has really allowed me to do that. And the people that I'm on my teams with and the people that have supported me throughout my career have also supported me on a personal level. recently I was able to receive a personal training certification and now work at a really cool gym here in Pittsburgh. And I've actually been able to host some workouts for my teammates. And it's been a lot of fun to see them supporting me in the office and outside. And socially distanced, of course, COVID safe in this current environment, but it's been a ton of fun. And it's an escape for all of us from our current day-to-day work. While we all might be like work friends, now we're outside of work friends. And I've been able to create that community for them. And it's been a ton of fun. And I do love it. And I've had this amazing opportunity to do a ton of stuff with this organization. I've been able to travel. I've been able to be on campuses and meet a ton of people, but now also outside the organization, because of those connections and those opportunities and my passions, this company has supported me in doing those. And I don't feel bad one bit that I'm like, oh, I got to leave. I got to go coach, or I've got to go do this one thing. It's been an absolute blast, and they really do support you in doing so, and they'll encourage you, and they'll post about it, and they'll come sweat with you in class, and it's been a ton of fun.
Amazing. And so I just want to remind all of our attendees, feel free to leave questions in the Q&A. I know I saw a bunch in there already. So panelists, just a heads up, I might skip a few of my questions because would love to answer the audience's. But Denise actually asked the same question that I have next on my list. So I want to get to that one. Right now, a lot of us are working remote. Melissa and Molly, I know both of you are working remotely. So how are you staying connected to your teams? How are you keeping them engaged and motivated? And Denise wants to know, what are some of the challenges you've been facing, and how have you overcome those? Melissa, I'll start with you first.
Sure. Well, I do think that remote working, it's a bag of both good and bad. My team, in a lot of ways, we feel like we can be somewhat more productive, which sounds funny, but we have a pretty crazy meeting culture at Dick's Sporting Goods, where we're in a lot of meetings during the day. And there's something nice, maybe not for our physical health, but there's something nice about not having that transition time in meetings. So it's kind of funny to say that, people just feel like they're able to be really productive, which has been great. But, as you can probably tell by things we've talked about earlier, we're a pretty social organization. And so people are really missing that in-person interaction. If we didn't have video, I think, I don't know how we would have gotten through this period of time. Video helps tremendously, but there's still something about being in person that we miss. And I think our team does a few different things that really helps. One, we're okay, even though you can be productive and like super efficient when you have meetings, to take, if we need to chit chat for a few minutes and talk about that silly thing that so-and-so did this weekend, we're going to talk about it. Also, just embracing like the craziness in our background. So I think Molly was mentioning her cats. Like when the cat comes up, we pause and talk about the cat. I remember I was on a meeting with our senior leadership team, and I thought I was off camera, and I got my son. I was not off camera, but the whole meeting stopped, and they're like, "Oh, Connor, how are you?" And there's just something, I feel like we've seen a more personal side of everyone's life because we've literally been in their homes the past 6 months, which has, I think, really helped us stay connected. And the last thing I'll say, this is not something that I do, but actually my manager does, is whenever we have our team meetings, he starts out with a silly question. And it can be, I think yesterday's question was, if you had to trade your legs for the legs of another animal, what animal would it be? And there were a lot of intense conversations about giraffes and monkeys. So just something, again, to not always be all about business, because it can be easy to do so in this remote environment, but just to have some time to really build as a team. And I think that keeps everyone really motivated.
I am now going to start all meetings with that question of what legs would you choose? And side note, after this, I definitely want to know what each of you would choose. That is a great question. Molly, same thing to you. How are you staying engaged with your teams while working remote, and how are you overcoming any challenges you faced?
Yeah, so my team might be on this call and they're probably laughing at themselves because virtual recruiting is no joke. It is a whole other animal. And I feel like I thrive in person. I want to use my hands all the time, which is super distracting on camera. But for me, being in person was so much fun. You can kind of get people's like sense of like, was your joke funny? Are you actually funny? But for us, we had a virtual internship this past summer and I can't see all 62 faces. So I'm like, how's everybody? And it's like dead silent. So we had a really cool opportunity to get creative. We did like a virtual scavenger hunt. We did a virtual bingo. I will say on my team side, as far as like HR is concerned, the CHRO, Julie Lodge Jarrett, does like HR celebrations every now and then where we're highlighting birthdays, anniversaries. We actually all got to put together a little one-page PowerPoint slide on pandemic pastimes that we've done. And it's allowed every person in the HR organization to talk about what they've been doing and get an update on their life. And I think that allows us to also talk about, yes, we've all had challenges, but we're all here with each other and we're all checking in with each other. And I think this company, everyone does a really nice job of being like, are you okay? Like, let me just take 2 minutes to like, before we even start this meeting, to make sure we're all good. Like my manager just got back from a really awesome trip. So we got to like debrief on her trip before we had our like team touch base, and it just allows you to like relax for a second and then just like check back in with life. So I think it's super important to, even though you're having challenges, we're all in the same boat together, and we'll all get through it together. And I think that's what helps me get through all of it.
Yeah, it's just taking that moment to like, okay, I know this is a meeting, but we're not going to talk about work for just 2 minutes. We're going to talk about something else. I think that's really important. So this next question I had on my list, but it also came in from an attendee. So I want to get to it next. Can you tell us each a little bit more about, what the culture at Dick's Sporting Goods is like, and how you're incorporating that every single day into your work and into your teams? Molly, I'll start with you here.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And as a recruiter, I get that a lot. I always use my standard answer. It's a competitive yet collaborative culture. We are out to succeed as an organization, and we're not out to get each other. We are out to join as one DSG team to go out there and win. However, selling the culture is my literal everyday job. So I get the opportunity to do what my recruiter did for me 8 years ago and really pay it forward to those students to be like, here's the awesome mission and vision. And we've reworked those in the past couple of years. And here's the really awesome like women's initiative we've got going on, and the TRGs that we're forming, the teammate resource groups and the IND work. And there's just so much happening that there's like so much to talk about. I run out of time. So, and it really shows me, and I hopefully conveys to other people that I'm very passionate about this culture and what we've done and how we're moving forward and how we're only going to keep going up from here. That hopefully that comes across that way. But it's a fantastic culture, and I feel like everyone would want to be involved because there's something for literally everyone here. You don't have to like sports to work here. You don't have to watch or play. We just ask that you're passionate about something, and that comes across in your everyday work.
That's awesome. That's why I started with you there. I knew you were the recruiter. We're going to have the glossy kind of answer for me that I love to hear. But Melissa, I'll come to you next. What is the culture like for you? What does it mean to you? And how are you incorporating that into your work and your team?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about like what's it like to work at Dick's Sporting Goods is it's really fast. We move incredibly quickly. The types of things we do on such short timelines is unbelievable. So I think that's really important. You have to be someone, and I think retail is like that in general, right? It's just a really fast-paced industry. I always say you have to try and stay, if not up with the customer, ahead of the customer, and we're getting real-time information about our customers like every hour. So every hour you have new information to help you make decisions. So it just leads to a constant innovation, which to me makes it really exciting because you're never doing the same thing twice. Even if you are, you're doing it completely differently. There's not too many things you can kind of just, recycle. But I also love working at a company whose mission truly is so noble. We do believe that sports make people better. And as cheesy and cliche as that is, and Ashley, Molly, and I hear that line like over and over and over again, but it is so ingrained in what we do that, for my team, I see ourselves as the storytellers of our brand and our company to our consumers. And so that is absolutely a part of the work we do every day, because we're thinking about how to tell that story and how to show and reveal our true selves to our customers that we do care about sports. We want everyone to be active. Even if you don't consider yourself a competitive athlete, we want to help you achieve whatever your goal is. And sort of having that ingrained in your thought process and thinking through customer experience and messaging and marketing, it's everywhere. And again, it's so reflective of our true culture. So it's really it's nice to work at a company where you're truly proud to do the work that you're doing.
And then Ashley, I'll come to you last with this question. Tell me a little bit more about what the culture means to you and how you've incorporated that throughout your career at Dick's.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the competitiveness really resonates with me, but it's fun. And we talk about this with the teams all the time. So there's really no rules on how much fun we can have. So imagine you're with your team and you get to go in a batting cage for a meeting, or you get to go use some of our products. And I think more importantly, we're really committed to that inclusivity and our involvement in the community. And that's what's really been incredible to be a part of. So I've had the opportunity to take my team out into our communities, the communities that we serve. So yes, we want to equip every athlete with the right products to meet their needs. But we've spent time donating our time to kids to teach them how to fish. We've spent some time being volunteers to referee basketball games in inner cities. So it's beyond work and it's beyond the job. So it's really connecting that and saying, we're not just here to sell to the community, but we're here to make the community better. And we're going to do that with people who have a ton of personality, who are excited about having fun and are willing to be sort of competitive in that respect. We're going to get our jobs done, and then we're going to get out into the community and make a difference and kind of be better ourselves as well. So I think that a really inclusive environment, it resonates every day in terms of the conversations we have as dream managers. So think about Kyle, who was an hourly teammate for me. He wants to be a veterinarian. We just promoted him. Every time I'm in the store, I talk to him about my dogs. I'm like, what are you going to do? I need your help here. What does this mean? What does that mean? But we get to do that. We get to have fun. We get to be dream managers. And we get to engage with our teammates and our peers in real life. That's what it's about for me. And that's supported in every fashion from senior leadership kind of all the way down. And it lets us kind of have some fun and get into the community. And I don't know another career right now where I'd be encouraged on a work day to go do and spend some time making a difference.
Yeah, that's so encouraging to hear. And batting cage meeting, that sounds very fun. But I also think if I was there, everybody should run. Just putting that out there.
You'd be surprised. Don't sell yourself short.
I'm not. No, trust me. I do selling somewhat for a living. I am selling you the honest truth. My last question here, I want to wrap up with this one because we have a ton of audience questions coming in. I don't want to miss any. So I know at Dick's there are teammate resource groups, TRGs. So Melissa, I know you're part of the Mom Squad. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that is and what that entails and how you're involved with them?
Sure. It's funny. This definitely connects back to my earlier answer around the most challenging part of my career was that re-entry into work. And I happen to have a peer mentor-mentee relationship where she had recently come back from maternity leave. And so many of our experiences in terms of planning for maternity leave and just managing work and motherhood were similar. And it just was a light bulb. We were like, why are we expecting HR to help us with all this stuff when there are so many amazing women at Dick's Sporting Goods who could be helping together? So we really came together and created Mom Squad. And, our original thought was to create a buddy system where, if you're an expectant mom and you wanted to understand how to plan for maternity leave, we paired you with a woman who had been there, done that, had received some training that we created from Mom Squad that we partnered with HR on, so they knew the basics of the benefits, but definitely knew when to tell you need to contact the benefits team, and just really gave women even things like showing them where our privacy rooms and lactation rooms were within the building. So that's really where we started. And I have to say, it has grown to be something so much bigger and more than that. And it's the thing that I'm most proud of at Dick's Sporting Goods that I've worked on. We have, dads, grandparents, aunts, uncles who are part of this community. We say, if you have a little one you want to support in your life, like Mom Squad is for you. And just seeing the community of people come together and helping each other and making those connections has been so powerful. The number of people, both again, men and women, who have come up to me thanking me for the work and working with the committee to start this organization has just really shown the impact that, again, it was just an idea. Can we just connect women as they plan maternity leave? And then thinking about and broadening the true needs of the organization, where that was not the only need, there were other needs, and empowering teammates to help each other. So it's been incredible. And like I said, definitely a highlight and something I think I'm most proud of since my time at Dix.
Especially for a huge organization, being able to connect with people who are literally going through the same things as you, that's incredibly important for your experience. So that's awesome to hear that you've helped create that. And now, Molly, I know you're not a part of a TRG yet, but I heard that you are creating one. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity, and I was very honored to be asked to help with drafting the charter for a Black Leadership Network TRG. So we are in the very, very infancy stages, but a fantastic director at the Goodyear DC, Edward Brabin, has actually asked me to help him with the creation of this organization. And like Mom Squad, we are just looking to create connections between teammates, and it has already grown to be something that is going to encompass much more than just leadership and that opportunity, but they have plans to be creating diversity programs and create more inclusive opportunities and really advocate for not only Black leaders, but Black voices in the organization, and really create opportunities to create those connections. So like I said, very infancy stages, and really it was his vision and strong work, and I'm just here helping out and honored to be getting it started. So hopefully we'll have a little bit more to hear from that soon, but I'm really excited to partner with the inclusion and diversity team to get this off the ground, and we can't wait to see where it goes.
Yes, we'll stay tuned. Can't wait to see the launch of that, and congrats, it's amazing. So now I want to jump into some audience questions here. This first one came through from a bunch of people. We've got Brianna, Vanessa, I saw some people in the chat as well. What's your advice for anyone who wants to work with Dix? What would you recommend they include in their application? What qualities are recruiters looking for? If they want to work there, what should they do? And I think it's no surprise, Molly, I'm going to start with you on this question.
Yes, it's a great question. And honestly, I literally asked the same exact thing to my recruiter. And if you know that you have a passion for retail, which not a lot of people would say they do, I get a lot of the, like, I really like sports, or I have a passion for sports, and that's fantastic. And we're looking for that person because you have a drive and different qualities than people that might have not played sports, and that's great. However, if you know that you have a passion for retail, not having every day be the same, loving to live in the gray, those are qualities that we're looking for in teammates that want to work here. I will say creating confidence and excitement for athletes is our daily job. And if you know that you're that person that has those capabilities and just want to have a desire to make a true difference, like Ashley said, then put in the work now and join our team. I think that's the biggest thing I can say. Highlight your leadership roles, but highlight that teamwork too. Like, don't always be the person like, I took the leadership position. Like, talk about how you supported your team, or how maybe you were the support person on the team. Like those are the people we want to see, because we know that you're going to be a great teammate and a great asset to Dick's Sporting Goods. For me, I love seeing like the outside work that you've done outside of classes or outside of other schoolwork. Getting involved in your community. Like Ashley said, we are serving communities. So we'd love to see your community involvement as well. Those are the things that spark great conversation during an interview. I can talk about like classwork and things, and you turn into this robot. But when you talk about your study abroad experience or the community work, it's like a light bulb goes off and your eyes light up and you become this totally different person. So really highlight that other stuff, because that's what makes you who you are. And we want to be able to see that come across.
I mean, it speaks perfectly to, I think, what you mentioned before about passion. You want to know that you're passionate about something, and that right there, if you're passionate about what you're speaking about, it's going to come through. If Melissa was here speaking about finance, well, maybe she wouldn't be as passionate as she is talking about, Mom Squad, because it's very evident that she's extremely passionate about that. Ashley, Melissa, don't mean to pick on you. Ashley, I'd love to hear from you as well. Do you have any advice for someone who's looking to work with Dix?
Yeah, at first I would just say do it. Take the chance, make sure you apply. I think any reservations you might have personally, throw them out the window. I think what's most important from a hiring perspective for me and for the team is just that we're hiring for personality. That's what's important. So whatever you're passionate about, exactly what Molly said, share that with us. That's what's going to get me excited. I've heard from people in the past that they didn't apply because, again, we might have been a second or third job. That to me is the norm right now. That's what we've evolved to, and I think we want to appeal to that person who maybe would apply and says, my availability is limited. I'm just not even going to bother. I haven't looked at availability in years at this point. It's really about that engagement, that interpersonal connection, and interactions when you come into the store. And that's another thing. I would say come into a location if you're interested. Come see what the teammates are doing in our stores in the field. Come see what the product that we have is like. Do you like it? Most people that apply with us usually shop with us, so there's sort of that reason. But if you're not sure, or you haven't maybe shopped with us or don't know a lot about us, come see it out for yourself. Come try it out for yourself, and engage with any one of our teammates. Most likely we're going to conduct interviews on the spot in stores. So we really want that to be a sort of a fast paced and really accessible opportunity for everybody at any time. So just, I would say my advice is do it. Don't hold yourself back or think that, there's going to be something that holds us back from calling you in. That's not the case. It's about personality, and it's about kind of sharing your passion. And there's plenty of people who are leaders that have never had experience in retail, or maybe do have limited schedules, but that doesn't change us wanting to bring you on as part of the team.
Awesome. And just to be mindful of time, I want to get to one last question here. Melissa, I'm just going to come to you first on it. But the question's from Sasha, and she wants to know, what advice would you give us that you wish someone had given you when you were coming up in your career earlier on?
Do you know what? I'm going to cheat, Sasha. I hope you don't mind, but this is actually advice that I got that I'm so grateful I got it. And it's not what I expected. And it was two things. One is, don't worry so much about what your next job is. Worry about what skills you want to get to build out the career that you want, and not to put that pressure on, I need the dream job. It may be as simple as, I've never managed people before, I really want to manage people. So just thinking about your career in that way, and then also choose roles based on the people you'll be working with. Like, that's why I worked in industrials and dry bulk shipping, to be completely honest, in financial services. It was the team that I felt most connected to. I had no interest in those businesses, but it was the smartest decision I ever made, because those were the people who taught me, who were working side by side with me, especially early in your career. So I think definitely keep that in mind, and never be scared to be yourself and to be honest and say, if you don't know something, just be honest about it.
Awesome. Ashley, same question to you. What advice do you wish someone had given you earlier in your career?
Yeah, two things. I think I wish someone told me it was okay to fail, because I think that was probably the scariest thing. Taking a leadership role was just this internal or intrinsic pressure to be perfect all the time and to work a lot and get anything and everything right. But I have learned so much from failure, and I fail a lot. I've probably failed 10 times today already, and it doesn't even faze me anymore. I haven't hit my quota for the day yet. I like to give myself a nice cap of 25, and then kind of wrap it up for the day. But I think when you think about that from everybody's perspective, it's about allowing people to bring their brains to work. So not trying to do everything and not trying to be the best at everything. I am an expert in nothing, but I've surrounded myself with people who are really passionate experts about things. And I've learned a tremendous amount. I've tried to replicate what they do, and I've failed. And so I've learned a lot from that. And I do think later in my career, I sort of afforded myself that opportunity, and I would have saved myself many nights, many long car rides home, kind of beating myself up over not executing everything perfectly. And I could have been focused on my people and myself and development in a much different way. So being okay to fail, I couldn't tell you the last thing I did perfectly, but I can definitely tell you what I failed at and how I got better. So I think that's super important.
Yeah, I mean, the fear of failure is what keeps us from doing so much, and being able to learn from it is honestly better than anything else. I love that. And Molly, I'll round out with you here. Just advice that you wish someone had given you earlier in your career.
Yeah, so very similar to Ashley, like it's okay to potentially not know and have to ask questions. I try to tell that to every intern I encounter now, like, we are all here to make each other better, and it's very okay to ask questions. We expect you to, we want you to, we would love to talk more about whatever it is that you might not be sure of, and that's very okay. And kind of a second piece to that is it's okay to not be the expert in your field, and it's also okay to not be the leader all the time. I know as a college student, it was like you have to highlight your leadership experience, you have to be the president of the organization to be able to make a difference. And I'll tell you right now that I enjoy being able to pull ideas out of people, to be that support system behind them, because I have a manager now who comes up with the best ideas that I just get to support, and like she spews them out of nowhere, and I can just grab those little gems every now and then, and we really come up with something fantastic as a team. And being under a leadership like that, I think it actually helps the organization succeed a lot more. And not a lot of people told me that it's okay to like listen to that leader and not be that person all the time. And not saying that I don't want to be a leader in my career, because I absolutely do, but I want to learn from the best, and I'm surrounded by those people right now, and it's okay to do so. And it's fine to not always be the leader and highlight your leadership experience. You're going to get there, and you're absolutely going to have those opportunities and those support functions and those outside opportunities that might not be that leader role right now are what's going to make you stand out amongst the crowd in the end.
Amazing. Well, I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us for this last hour. We really appreciate you spending your time with us. Thank you once again to Melissa, Ashley, and Molly for a wonderful conversation and for your insightful answers. We truly enjoyed this today, and I'm so glad each of you could attend and share your experiences with us. We will be sending out the recording of this later today, and I saw a few of you asking about job opportunities. We'll be sending you a link to their Fairygodboss page where you can find more about the company, benefits, and all of their open opportunities at this time. Thank you again, everybody, and have a very happy Thanksgiving. Bye.
Thank you.